Good morning. Today I'd love to show you how to use Zoom meeting spaces to create like a recurring meeting, which you would use if you want to have a dedicated room for one client, or you want to have a dedicated Zoom room for one particular product or service you offer, and why you would do that. So let's do it. I was working with a client the other day and we were talking about how she should use her Zoom, and because she's a coach, I thought, it's great if for each client you have a dedicated room. So if you create a recurring meeting in Zoom and which is what I've done for my free 15-minute chats, say for instance, and I just kind of give that link to everybody. So if someone is testing the link and I'm in a meeting, they're just going to pop into the meeting that I'm in, which is fine for me. I don't feel like the work I do with my clients is highly personal and confidential. It does sometimes go that way, but generally it's of a business nature, and we are talking about businessy stuff. So if someone accidentally pops in, it's kind of not the end of the world. But if you are dealing with clients and you're working with material of theirs that's very private, of a very vulnerable nature, you might like to create, a meeting room for each of your clients so that they always just use the same link and no one's ever going to drop in on your meeting. And another really cool thing that you can use this recurring meeting for is if you have a program or an online course or something and you just want to create one link, so your people only have to save one URL, they always just go to the same Zoom room for their sessions with you. It's really good for that. So enough chit chat. Let's go. I'm going to put the screen. See, look, I've got a rainbow, iridescent rainbow, but you don't really need to see my face while we do the screen share. Now, if you're not sure if you have a Zoom account, if you've ever used Zoom, you probably have a Zoom account. So you just need to sign in. And if you've never, truly never used Zoom, then, just create yourself an account. There's a free version. You just sign in, just the usual kind of thing. And on the side here, there'll be all these different options. And one of them is meetings. It's gone to meetings because that's where I always go. Now, there is a thing called your personal meeting room, which is just like your kind of allocated Zoom room. And so you can use this URL of your personal meeting room for just general Zoom calls that you don't feel like are going to be terribly private in nature. It's kind of like your public Zoom space, and you could share that with a bunch of people. But, if you need something more private, we can create a meeting that is more specifically for, see, I've got one for the elevator, one for my Facebook ads course. Someone's obviously booked a session and they've got their own meeting room, one for my Instagram Q&A, etc., etc. So you come to meetings, you should see a button that says schedule a new meeting. You press that. You can give your meeting a name, like, because this is a test, I'm going to call this group program test. You can call it, Jane Robinson, and that's where Jane Robinson's always going to have her sessions with you, or whatever you like. You can give it a description, and sometimes I do that and sometimes I don't. It's not a big deal. You can ignore the dates because you're going to create a recurring meeting and the recurrence is no fixed time. And so that makes it an open meeting that someone can go to anytime they want. And as for these other settings, I leave the video off for everybody until they get in the room, because sometimes you're like, got the phone pointing up your nose and you just don't want everyone to see that. I let the audio be both. I let people join before the host because because I like them to be able to go and test the URL if they've never used Zoom before. And if you've ever booked a session with me, you probably got that email reminder saying, here's the link to Zoom. If you've never used it before, click this now. And you can test out the Zoom now before the meeting so that on the day you can just jump straight in. And I actually recommend that you do that. And these other things, you can create a password for people to get in. You can mute people when they come in, and that's really good if you're doing a webinar. And that's another thing you can use this for. If you're going to run a webinar, you can create the meeting just in an open way. You might want to mute people on entry in case you've started the webinar and people are coming in late and they've got like lawnmowers in the background of dogs, or they're yelling at their kids. I mean, that's what I would be doing. You can use your personal meeting ID if you want. You can enable waiting room. I don't really bother with any of those because if I'm going to record, I like to do it myself at a certain point. So that's it. You can add alternative hosts and then you just click save. And then once that happens, there'll be options. Oh no, I don't want to say that. You can copy the invitation, but what happens when you copy the invitation is this big long message from Zoom that's got all their robot talk and more information than I think you need. What you really need is this URL, and you can just click and drag over to highlight it. I use Command C to copy, but you can right click and then choose copy, and then you just paste that. Now, I did another video called, what did I call it? I'm thinking about Acuity. Okay, erase that. What you can do is you can put this into an email. So if someone's signed up for something, whether it's a session with you or they signed up for a webinar or for your program, you can either create a button, and the link for the button would be this URL, and it would say something like join the call. Or if you're sending a more personalized email, you can just say join me in this video conferencing room, and then highlight that and paste in this link. Or you can just share this link directly to make it nice and straightforward for people, and so like click this link. So that's all you really need to do. It's very simple, and if you have any questions, let me know. I hope that was helpful, and I hope you have a great day. See you soon.